Are you a business owner or employee who needs to network but is terrified of walking into a room full of people you don't know? Are you afraid of being left out of conversations or being awkward in the conversations you do have? Your tour guide, Faithann, is here to walk alongside you through the networking terrain, offering tips and tricks to network with ease. Grab your sunscreen and suitcase. Faithann is ready. Are you?
Welcome, new and returning listeners, to the Networkers Tour Guide podcast. I'm your host, Faith Ann, and we answer your networking questions one episode at a time. This is the very first episode of the series on real estate. I want to educate those of us in the real estate industry, whether you are a realtor or you support the real estate industry in another way, like a home inspector, roofers, mortgage lenders. I want to give you guys the confidence to network and connect with the people that you need for your business when it comes to the real estate industry. And so that is what this series is going to be all around. I want to bring all the insights from the experts who understand how to network in the real estate industry. My first guest with you today is Jackie Benjamin with We Assist Marketing. Jackie, thank you so much for saying yes to being on the podcast.
Sure. Thanks for asking me, Faithann.
Yeah, so Jackie and I connected through Nikki Roush with a sales maven. Nikki has been a guest on a previous guest on the podcast, and Jackie and I have been connecting. We've connected a few times over Zoom, and she sent me an email that made me very curious about, or impressed me about engaging the right way with people. And from her perspective, we're looking at online engagement. And I thought that might be a really nice foundation to start this series. So, first, before we get into this really cool tip that she has to engage the right way on social media if you're in the home services industry or in real estate. Before we dive into that, tell the listeners a little bit about We Assist Marketing, if you would.
Yeah, so I'd love to. So we do social media management. We do outbound social media management, though, so which is a little bit different than what you think of as your traditional social media managers. So we do the content creation like a typical social media manager, where we're creating posts for our clients, taking over their social media, scheduling, doing those types of things. But then we also are answering comments and DMs for them. And then we're taking it to a next level where we are going out and engaging with other businesses that could be potential referral or collaboration partners for them, and engaging with their content, following them on a daily basis so that we can build those relationships online.
And that is such an easy way to almost get like a head start for that roofer. If you will follow Jackie's tips, which we're going to get into, and I'm so excited about it, if you will do this consistently, then you could possibly show up at your networking meeting with a head start from those other roofers who aren't engaging with their ideal clients and with audiences in this very strategic and relationship focused way that Jackie's going to tell us about. You might as well like establish yourself online in a way that is relationship based so that when you're in that room with that realtor and there might be other roofers, you have a head start. So, first, why don't you tell us the story we were talking about online about this very thing about getting a head start in a room with the people you need to be in front of?
I have a client who I think we were in month one, maybe two with him, and we were doing social media engagement and all that for him. And he went to a local event and met one of the other providers there. He's in home services. And she said, "Oh, I've heard of you, or I know you already." And said he introduced himself and blah blah. She goes, "Oh, I know you already. I follow you on social media." And he's like, "Oh, thank you so much for following us." Blah blah blah. She goes, "Well, you followed me first."
Mm.
So we had followed her, and by the time they got to this event and they saw each other and met each other for the first time, they had already been following each other on social media. So she already knew him. So they already had that relationship. It felt familiar when he was at this event. It was an easy when they were introduced to each other. It was like, "Oh, I know you already."
Right, and so that's where the head start comes in. So,
Mhm.
all he had to do was not mess up, like, not do anything
Right.
silly, and he already had a tiny bit of trust established
Mhm.
because he engaged online. And so you have a framework that you sent me in an email, and I read the article that you sent, and I thought, "This is very good. This is how relationships can be strengthened online." So it's almost like you were in my head for in person. The things that we do with each other to build rapport in person, and you're just showing us how to do it online. So why don't you tell us about your framework to have engagement that doesn't feel weird or icky? It feels real and it feels helpful.
Yeah, sure, I'd love to. So, because we work in the home services space, a lot of their relationships are local to each other, obviously local businesses, and they're moving in the world like that. But the advantage, as you were saying before, to building these relationships online is that now you've got this other part of your relationship, whether it's before you've met or after. And then when our clients are engaging with those businesses, we do use this framework. So we have a checklist we go through that's kind of a 15-minute a day checklist. And the first thing that we do is start looking at the content of these other businesses that we follow and think about it in this it's ATQ framework. So as we're looking at their content, we want to acknowledge their content, say that it's great in some way. We want to provide some kind of tip that's relative to what we do, and then we want to our clients do, and then we want to ask a question. As an example, if you were an HVAC client, for example of ours, and you saw a local realtor posted spring maintenance tips for your home, we might say, "These are great tips. We're so glad you're thinking about the homeowner as spring rolls around. We want to make sure that you mentioned everybody that they should be changing their air filters at least quarterly and checking them once a month." And then you could ask them, "How many people do you think change their air filters once a month?" And then you can get that realtor to respond and continue the engagement. It's going to help with their algorithm. So it's going to keep picking things up with their algorithm the more it's engaged with. And it's going to help our clients because as a home service provider, now all of the realtors' audiences who are homeowners are seeing our brand engage with this content.
That's really cool. So let's do the three real quick one more time. So the first thing
Yeah.
in that example of the realtor with the spring maintenance, the first thing would be the acknowledgement,
Yep. Acknowledge it. Like, these are great tips. Thanks for helping out homeowners.
and then it would be the tip. So you
Some
offer
kind of tip.
your own tip,
Yep, it would be just, make sure to let people know they need to be changing their filters once a month or checking them once a month, something like that.
and then the A is ask. Ask a question, because when you
Mhm.
ask, then there may be a reply, which then puts the Facebook is learning that that realtor matters to the HVAC and that the HVAC matters to the realtor. And so it's showing those posts to each other.
Mhm.
That's really smart. So I will say when I was networking a lot on behalf of Window Cleaning Plus, because that's my other business is Window Cleaning Plus, and realtors were very good for us. So I would look at a lot of times realtors have their open houses or their listings, and so they show the pictures of the home.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I would, of course, like the post, and then I would say something about the post, like, that yard is beautiful." I would go in and find a picture where I could comment on a feature. I did this so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the chandelier.
Yeah.
So, not just liking it and not just saying, "Oh, this house is beautiful," but I would say specifically what I liked about it. Now, though, if I were doing that, I would add the question because that's a good idea. So you ask a question. So, in addition to this ATQ, it's important to follow the right people, correct?
Yes. Correct. Yes, that's correct. Yep. So you want to make sure, again, we work primarily with home service businesses. So you want to, and as realtors, like you want to make sure you're following your other local businesses, of course. This is not a buckshot, go out there and follow everybody that's on the internet, that's on social media. This is really thinking about who in your local area. A couple of things will be good collaboration or referral partners for you. If you're a home service provider or even if you're a realtor, think about somebody who would pull you into a job or a sale. So if you are an HVAC provider, for example, that might be the realtors, of course. That could be a home designer, that or home remodeler. That could be a home inspector, a plumber. So you think about those types of folks that in real life, in person, would be pulling you into jobs because they don't provide those services. So you want to go through, and that's kind of your primary audience that you want to start following and engaging with, because the goal is to build that relationship and then get pulled into some of those jobs because of the relationship that you built online. The secondary thing that happens is their audience starts seeing your brand as you are engaging with that content. So, kind of the next level of people that we or businesses that we like to follow are your very local businesses or organizations, like your chambers of commerce, your local organizations, maybe little league organizations in your local hometown area. And then also, if you think about your doctors, your dentists, your orthodontists, youth trampoline parks, those types of things that are local businesses, all of those audiences most likely, or all of their audience most likely, are going to need home services at some point. So by engaging, following and engaging with their content, now their audience again is seeing your brand. And you know how that works. Once you start seeing something, you start seeing it over and over and over again everywhere. So the more you do that, the more that their audiences are going to pick up on that, and it's just great for the brand.
Yeah, it's called your reticular activating system.
Yeah.
So the home inspector, tell me 3 kind of people or businesses to follow if I'm a home inspector and I'm networking.
Yes, home inspector and networking, realtors for sure. Realtors, your HVAC folks would be another great person to follow, and could be home remodelers would be another one as well, because depending on how big the remodel is, you might need to have that thing re-inspected.
Okay. What about a roofer? What 3 top 3 should he be following? I mean, we know the realtor for sure. What else?
Yeah, exactly. I would say the realtor for sure. I would say that thinking about folks that are probably in places where you might see leaks. So your plumbers, again, your home remodelers, because in the plumbers, again, they're in places where you're going to see leaks, not just in the bathroom, but those, leaks that are coming in from the roof. And somebody who might be in the attic. So you think about your HVAC folks who are going to be in attics, and that's where they might be seeing leaks that the homeowner isn't seeing because they're in an attic.
Yeah, and I thought of 2 other things. Insulation people who spray insulation,
Yes,
and
yes, that's a great one.
even fences, like fencing companies.
Yeah, anybody who might be out there seeing the roof when the homeowner is not on a on a regular checking out their roofs.
Yeah. Okay, now I have a question. I've seen it done 2 different ways. I've seen people who make their own personal page, kind of their brand. They have a business page, but they don't engage much, but they
Yeah.
really focus on their own personal page, being engaged and doing all the things we're talking about, but they do it as themselves versus a page. What do you recommend?
Yeah, so we always recommend creating a page for your business. And the same thing so for Facebook, the same thing with, if we're talking about Instagram, creating your business professional account and making sure the two are connected. There's a lot you can do within Meta when those two are connected. But the reason is, especially with the Facebook page and Instagram account, there's a lot more analytics and tracking that you can do with a page and a professional account that you can't do with a personal account or a creator account on Instagram. So Meta gives you this whole business suite that you can get a lot of information on. You can boost posts, you can create ad accounts, all those types of things across the Meta platforms if you have a page. So that's the kind of gateway into getting all of this other great information. So if you are a business and you are serious about your social media accounts, which of course we think everybody should be, and building relationships and converting jobs, converting business, then I would always recommend having a page for your
Okay.
business and being active there. If you want to post on your personal profile, that's great too, but share, post on your page, share that post on your personal profile.
Have you ever had this happen? You're chatting with someone at a networking event and they say, "I've been needing help with that," or "I've been meaning to reach out to someone like you." You smile and later think, "Wait, was that a buying signal?" Most networkers miss these moments, not from inexperience, but because no one ever taught what buying signals actually sound like. That's why Faithann is hosting a new mastermind, Buying Signals for Networkers, based on Nikki Rausch's book, Buying Signals. In this small group, you'll learn the exact phrases people use when they're ready to work with you and get guided practice so responding with confidence becomes second nature. With both in-person and virtual options available, you can join from anywhere. The waitlist is open now. Waitlisters get early access and special pricing. Tap the link in the show notes to save your spot.
Now, I think there is a restriction for some types of pages to join groups. Is that correct? Like some groups
Yeah,
they won't let a page join.
that's
That
correct.
that shouldn't stop a business from creating a page and still engaging and following the local businesses, chambers of commerce, and for sure the people who are going to know about the need before they do.
Yes, definitely. And you're right about the group. So that's a group restriction that they can put a restriction on the certain, pages can't join. But that's the benefit of then if you join as your personal profile, if you're sharing content on your personal profile, then you'll have that you can join as your personal profile. And, if something comes up, you can answer a question or whatever. So that's definitely a way to use the groups.
Now, what are some best practices when your business is tagged in a post, like a recommendation?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when your business is tagged in a post, always acknowledge that tag. So if you see that come up, certainly comment on that content that is you've been tagged in. Depending on what it is, you could reach out, DM that business and ask them if you could repurpose that content on your own page. So you might be able, depending on if it's Facebook or Instagram, whatever the content looks like, and whatever the graphic is, you might be able to download something, take a screenshot so that you can repurpose that on your own on your own social media. Please always ask before you do that. Most people certainly are happy to have you do that. But you, at the very, very least, you want to make sure you acknowledge that tag and comment on their content that they've put it in.
And probably thank the person who tagged them.
Yes, yes, definitely. Yeah. And a little bit more I think you were alluding to earlier where it's a little more than just a thank you, right? It's a thank you. We really enjoyed collaborating with you on this project. It was our favorite one of the year or something that is more than just thank you.
Mhm. And for a recommendation specifically, like let's say one of my friends is on their own personal page and they're saying, "I need a painter." And if I'm
Mhm.
the page and I go or if I tag, usually what happens is it's the business owner themselves that gets tagged. It's not usually
Right.
page, and
Yeah.
that's the fun thing about, that I knew networking was working for me, was when people would ask for window cleaning recommendations, they would say, "You gotta talk to Faith Ann." They wouldn't say
Right.
most of the time, it wasn't Window Cleaning Plus. It's like they think of you as a person, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think you're right when and that's the obviously the benefit of having this like kind of two pronged approach to networking is the in person is so important. But then if you have this online too, then people are thinking of you that way online. So when they see, oh, we need window cleaners, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm already friends with Faith Ann on Facebook, so I'll just pop her name in there. And then you as the owner can again acknowledge and say thank you and here's our website, call me or whatever you want them to do And then you can, go back and see if you can ask those people to follow you. You can, there's a lot of things you can do at that point. But now that person is not just thinking about you as an in-person referral, but an online one as well.
Right, and it's easier, it's more convenient, You just a simple tag,
Yeah,
if the referral happens, you're like, "That's really cool," It's a win-win for 3 people.
it is.
How often should businesses be and let's think too really about in real estate, these contractors are busy. They're out in the muck all day. They're dirty when they come home, they're wore out, exhausted, or maybe
Mhm.
they've been out selling all day. What would you say to one of these contractors who says, what's the bare minimum that I should be doing if I don't have a lot of effort to put towards my social media page itself, like posting, what's something easy I can do?
Yeah, I would say if they don't have a lot of effort to put towards posting, you need some content out there. So, if they can even get one post a week out there, that would be great. I mean, you hear things like everybody should be posting 5 times a day. I think you need to post what works for your business. Post, most of our clients are anywhere between 2 times a week and every day. So just depending on what is right for their business. But if somebody's doing it themselves, if they can get one post out a week, just be consistent, have a consistent pattern of posting that you're doing, and then do the engagement, spend more of your time on the engagement. Like I said, you want to have new posts out there because you want to look like you're, quote real, right? So you want to have new content out there. But if you can spend 15 minutes a day doing engagement, and we've got even a little checklist that you could follow, that is going to move the needle.
Yeah, I could see how it would. I really could. And I'll link that in the show notes so that you can grab
Okay, great.
Jackie's checklist and start small, like she said. Just start. It doesn't have to be completely perfectly thought out. Just get into the habit of engaging with these other businesses online, and it will probably seem like after a month or two, doesn't it seem like it actually gets easier to do?
Mhm.
It's not so hard, like not so much brain power to do the ATQ, acknowledge, give a tip, and ask a question would become more and more natural.
Yes, definitely. And what's going to happen is at the beginning, you're going to spend some of your time actually following those businesses because you haven't been doing that. But then you're going to start curating your feed. And once you start curating your feed, it becomes even easier because now you don't have to go look for that content. It's going to show up right in front of your face.
Yeah.
So now your feed is going to be curated with all of the people with the businesses that you've been following. And now it'll be really, really apparent as you pop up your feed for your page, what things that you're going to need to comment on. And it makes it even easier. So yes, the first little bit, it's going to take you a minute, just like anything else, to curate that feed. But once you do, then yeah, it becomes a lot easier to do the ATQ and just kind of go through things.
That seems very doable for the contractor who is just out in the field most of his day per day.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Now, do you think also this is something I do? I kind of look at my social media. If I know I'm gonna see certain people, I will type their name in at the top and
Mhm.
kinda see what they're up to, because
Yeah.
maybe there's something exciting going on in their life that I can talk to them about. Now,
Mhm.
is there a line, like, do you have to be careful about how much you already know that doesn't, like, kind of freak the person out? That
Right.
be like, "Well, how do you know so much about me?"
Right.
What's some useful, things to think about when you're looking at the realtor's page specifically so that when you see him or her, you have something to talk about?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great question because so many people have their personal and then a separate page, their page, their business page and then their personal. So you can kind of find things on both. So I would say, if there's things going on in their business, if they're actively posting and there's things going on in their business, then if you don't know the person, like that might be a safe place to start. But if you've met the person before and you both love dogs and you just saw they got a new dog, like that would be a logical conversation. So I think it depends on the relationship that you've built already in person. Because if you're just meeting someone for the first time in person, but you've seen like their business oh, they just had a house and selling a house in the most pristine neighborhood in the area, that would be a good opening for like, oh my gosh, saw that house online, love it as it is beautiful in person as it is online, you know. So I think you can use both. It was just have to kind of gauge the relationship that you already have with that person.
Yeah, and, like, how fun is that? If someone like, people
Yeah.
who put stuff on social media, in the positive stuff, it's because they're proud. So, what a great way to walk into a conversation with a realtor. If you're a roofer, if you're a home inspector, if you're a mortgage person,
Right.
if you already know what that realtor is proud of, you already know a little bit about last month because they're publicly, posting it, then you
Hmm.
come in and it's almost like it's that head start I was talking about. You're just
Right.
already like, I remember I did this to a mortgage guy, last year. He posted about chickens. He got
Oh yeah.
chickens. So,
Right.
I mean, it was so went up to him like, "Hey, how are those chickens?"
Right.
Just didn't wanna talk about it, and it's just it gets us to that rapport building so much quicker, and
Mhm.
it sets you apart from the other realtors that or the other roofers who are also trying to get in with that realtor, but don't know anything about the realtor because they haven't
Mm.
taken the time. And then I'll see, we'll kind of wrap this up with this last thing. I think I tell roofers this when I work with them individually. Know what's going on in the industry of the people you're trying to get in front of. If there's something
Yeah.
big in that industry, know about it because the last thing that realtor wants to do is have to explain it to you.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, the recent realtor thing about the buyer's agent, that's a big, huge
Right.
shift now. All roofers should know exactly what that is and how is it affecting the realtors. And
Hmm.
so and there might be other things like in garage door, I don't know, but, things
Yeah.
industry things that are affecting the industry, if you're wanting to get in with those people, you should know what those are, and
Hmm.
sometimes social media may be a way to find out.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a great point because like you said for example, in the HVAC industry, there's been a big shift in the last year over the refrigerant they use, and I won't go into it, but we've done posts educating for our clients, we've done posts educating their audience about that. So there are things you can learn on social media about things like that if somebody is doing educational posts on it. And it is a great way to even to relate to someone like the question is, how are these new regulations affecting your business? Oh my gosh, like that's a question somebody wants to answer because it's tough, right? Like depending on what it could be, it could really be hitting them hard. So it's not, caring about that makes a difference and it does set you apart.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's like, "Oh gosh." I'm talking to an 8th grader instead of a 1st grader. I'm not having to teach the 1st grader how to read. The 8th grader and I are talking about a novel.
Mhm.
That's more exciting, and the empathy piece is very important too, like you said. Like, "Oh, somebody gets it." Somebody gets like, for a realtor specifically, all these people are here and they're trying to wait for me to pass them, to give to them, but wouldn't it be if you're the roofer that is like, "I know, I just heard that the lawsuit XYZ. What do you think you might be doing differently, or how's it affecting you?" Or, and when I would have one-to-ones with realtors, when I was window cleaning, I would ask them, "How many listings do you have?" And the purpose of that was not for them to get me to get them to use me. It was genuine. "How many listings do you have? And tell me about them.
Yeah.
I wanna know." And you build a relationship, and then they will reach out to you when it makes sense, but they have to trust you first. We're all on our phones all day, so the business owner should be, engaging in it the right way.
Yeah. And I think social media gets a bad rap sometimes because there's a lot of junk out there, certainly that you have to weed through. But the building relationship piece, it's called social media. It's the social part of social media. That is how we're connected a lot of times. For the good or the bad, that is our world. So there's a lot of ways to use social media that is not where everybody's like, oh, I can't stand it. I don't want to deal with that. there's a lot of great things you can do with it to build relationships. And even if they're online and then become in-person relationships, there's so much you can do.
I agree. Well, this has been a lot of fun, and I'm excited for the listeners in the real estate industry to get some great tips about how to engage with other local businesses in order to widen their audience and to get that head start when they do meet these people in person. And what I've been loving to ask my guests lately is if you, Jackie, could tap your younger self on the shoulder as you were first getting into your career and your business, what would you tell your younger self as she's trying to make a difference in the world?
Yeah, that is a great question. So, my younger self, as I was first getting into my career, I would say there is not one path. The path you are on now is not necessarily the path that you will stay on, and it's not necessarily the path you're meant to be on. So keep an open mind to all possibilities. And then as I was getting into my business, the tap on the shoulder would have been start this way sooner than you did. Just get started. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have everything figured out, but just get started.
Amen. That's great. My husband and I feel the same way about our window cleaning business. It's been an
Yes.
incredible blessing for us.
Yeah. And so many business owners feel that way, and everything happens the time it's supposed to happen. But a lot of people do feel that way. So that would have been my advice to me.
If you need some social media help, and if you want a company to do this kind of engagement for you that we were talking about, I would highly recommend getting on the phone or a chat with Jackie with We Assist. So where can people find you?
Yeah, thanks, Faithann. You can go to my website. It's www.weassistbusiness.com, and you can schedule time with me right from there, or reach out to me on LinkedIn. So Jackie Benjamin, and then at We Assist Marketing on LinkedIn, and you can just reach out to me there, DM me, and we can figure out a time to get together.
All right. Well, thanks again, Jackie. Thank you for bringing all the social media wisdom to this very special series on the real estate industry. I really appreciate you saying yes.
Yeah, thanks for asking me, Faithann. It's been really fun to chat with you.
You've been listening to the Networkers Tour Guide podcast with Faithann Basor. Share this episode with a friend and be sure to come back next week for more networking tips and tricks from the Networkers Tour Guide.